I was going to say, because with complex trauma, and some children who have a very difficult start in life in terms of their exposure to certain environments and maybe the people in their lives too, does that mean, do you feel then that if that maturation of that part of their brain is already in place, if we teach them mindful games or mindful activities, that would that help? Or it might be just a theory. Would it help children with complex trauma if we were to work in these mindful games with them?
Yeah, it should, because the way to think about it is this. If you look at the studies of Marty Teicher, Teicher, and McLean Hospital at Harvard University, what Marty has very powerfully shown was that what developmental trauma does to the brain, and this would be severe abuse and severe neglect that he studies, is it impairs the growth of integration in the brain. Depending on the timing of the developmental trauma, will determine which integrative areas are not growing well. So the way to think about it in the large way is with the term called the connectome. That is, the differentiated areas of the brain throughout the brain are linked, and that we call the interconnected connectome. That's a new term that's used in the last couple of years. What Marty was able to show is that developmental trauma makes the connectome, the different areas, less interconnected. That's number one. Then specific areas are, as we're talking about, the prefrontal cortex, which links, if here's your hand model of the brain, the prefrontal cortex links the cortex at the top, the limbic area in the middle, the brain stem, and then this stuff coming up from the body with the social world, these 5 different sources of energy and information flow: cortical, limbic, brainstem, body, and social. Those 5 energy and information flow sources are coordinated and balanced by the prefrontal cortex, and that is a massively integrative area, right? 5 things that are separate, bringing them together. So integration is defined as the linkage of differentiated parts. These are the 5 differentiated parts, and they're linked. So prefrontal integration is also impaired. The corpus callosum, linking the differentiated left and right that you mentioned earlier, those are impaired. And the hippocampus, its growth is also impaired. So the way to think about it is developmental trauma blocks the growth of integration, but integration can grow at any time throughout the lifespan. So of course, we want to prevent trauma if we can. But we don't need to think that, oh my gosh, the early years are over, so it is impossible to help this child. No. There's lots of exciting evidence to support the idea that neuroplasticity, how the brain grows in response to experience, continues throughout the lifespan. And what we want to do then is be very strategic and specific and supportive in growing integration in the brain. And amazingly, but if you look at the studies of mindfulness in adults, at least, we haven't done the studies in children yet, but mindfulness in adults, guess what? It grows the hippocampus. It grows the corpus callosum. It grows the prefrontal cortex, and it makes the connectome more interconnected. So when you read this in the book Mind, where these studies are very new and this book just came out, you'll see this amazingly optimistic and very specific reason why mindfulness, theoretically for children and adolescents, should be really, really specifically helpful from a brain point of view, because it actually, in people who haven't been abused, these were in just the general population, in general, what we know as a starting point is that mindfulness makes the brain more integrated. Developmental trauma has made the brain less integrated. Because of neuroplasticity, we ought to be able to grow the integration of the brain throughout the lifespan. So let's go for it. Let's use every opportunity, mindfulness, therapy, good relationships at home, because integrated relationships also promote the growth of